You wake up, you're half alive, you stumble into the kitchen, shove 2 slices of bread into the toaster, and you hit the lever. You walk away. But what if I told you that the golden brown toast you're about to butter is laced with a carcinogen? So dangerous, it's banned in children's pajamas in Europe? That's right, your toaster, the appliance you've trusted since childhood's quietly turning your breakfast into a slow-release poison pill. Here's how it works. Most non-stick toaster interiors are coated with PTF, the same chemical. Family is Teflon. When heated past 230 degrees Celsius, 446 degrees Fahrenheit, PTFE starts to break down, releasing toxic fumes. And guess what temperature your toaster hits? Over 260 degrees Celsius. A 2020 study published in Environmental Science and Technology found that perfluoroalkyl substances, PFAS, aka forever chemicals, leach into food during toasting. These chemicals don't degrade. They accumulate in your liver, your blood, your kidneys. And here's the kicker. PFAS have been linked to thyroid disease, infertility, and kidney cancer. But wait, why is this even allowed? Because the FDA regulates food, not appliances. So while your bread might be organic, the surface it's toasted on is coated in industrial-grade chemicals designed for jet engines. Not your morning avocado toast. Think about it. How many times have you eaten toast in your life? How many of those slices were cooked on a surface hotter than a frying pan? And how many times did you sniff that warm, buttery aroma, completely unaware you were inhaling microscopic plastic particles? Even worse, those crumbs at the bottom of your toaster, they're not just old bread, they're toxic sediment baking into a carcinogenic crust every time you use it. And when was the last time you cleaned under the crumb tray? Most people don't. And every time you toast, those old crumbs heat up, releasing acrylamide, a chemical classified as a probable human carcinogen by the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IRC. So let me ask you, is convenience worth a slow-motion health disaster? You toasting your bread or toasting your future? And the worst part, this isn't some rare, obscure appliance. Over 90% of American households own a toaster. You're not paranoid. You're just waking up. The yogurt lid, that delicious foil, is a hormone hijacker asterisk. You do it without thinking. You peel back the foil lid of your yogurt. You lick it. It's that creamy, tangy layer stuck to the foil. It's the best part, right? What if I told you that every time you do that, you're swallowing a cocktail of endocrine disruptors that mimic estrogen in your body? That foil lid, it's not just aluminum. It's lined with a thin plastic coating, often epoxy resin, which contains BPA or its sneaky cousin, BPS. And when you lick that lid, especially after the yogurt has been sitting in a warm car or a hot grocery store, those chemicals leach into the creamy film you're so eagerly consuming. A 2019 study from the Journal of the Endocrine Society found that just 5 minutes of contact between yogurt and BPA-lined lids can transfer measurable amounts of the chemical into food and BPA. It's been linked to infertility, early puberty, in girls, increased risk of breast and prostate cancer, ADHD, and behavioral issues in children. But here's the real. Mind-F***CK. BPA-free doesn't mean safe. When companies phased out BPA, they replaced it with BPS and BPF chemicals that behave almost identically in the human body. A 2021 study from the University of California found that BPS is just as disruptive to hormone function as BPA, and in some cases, worse. So you bought BPA-free yogurt, thinking you were safe, but you're still licking a hormone-disrupting lid every morning. And let's talk about the behavior. Why do we do this? Why is licking the lid a cultural habit? Because the food industry engineered it. They know the lid traps flavor. They know people will lick it, and they'd still use these linings. So ask yourself, who decided it was okay to put a known endocrine disruptor in direct contact with food meant for children? And why is this still legal in the US when the EU has banned BPA in all food contact materials for kids? Every time you lick that lid, you're not just enjoying a treat, you're participating in a decades-long human experiment without consent. Car seat, your child's safest place, is a toxic time bomb asterisk. You bought the most expensive car seat. You read every review. You installed it perfectly. You think your child is safe? But what if the very thing protecting them from crashes is slowly poisoning them from the inside out? Car seats, especially infant carriers, are drenched in flame-retardant chemicals. Not just one, dozens, and they don't stay put. A 2022 study from Environmental Health Perspectives found that children in car seats are exposed to flame retardants at levels up to 10 times higher than adults. Why? Because they're small, they breathe faster, they chew on the straps. Yes, your baby is teething on fabric soaked in TDCPP, a flame retardant classified as a probable human carcinogen by the EPA, and it doesn't stop there. These chemicals PBDEs, TSEP, TDCP, peelage out of the foam and fabric, coating the surface of the seat. Then, they transfer to your child's skin, clothes, and hands. And when they put their fingers in their mouth, direct ingestion, worse. These chemicals are lipophilic, meaning they love fat. They accumulate in fatty tissues, including the brain. And here's the horror story. In 2017, researchers at Duke University found flame retardants in the blood of 97% of children tested, and levels were highest in kids under 5. One chemical, HBCD, has been banned in the EU because it disrupts thyroid function and neurodevelopment. But in the US, still legal, still in your baby's car seat. And the sad truth, these chemicals don't even work. A 2014 investigation by the Chicago Tribune revealed that flame retardants in furniture don't slow fires, they just make the smoke more toxic. In car seats, they're required to meet FMV's S302, federal standard that tests flammability for 12 seconds. But real car fires burn for minutes, so we're poisoning our kids. For a safety test that lasts less time than a TikTok video, ask yourself, is this protection, or is this corporate negligence dressed up as safety? And why are we accepting this as normal? The silicone baking mat nonstick LISU switched to silicone baking mats because you thought you were being smart. No more parchment paper, no more Teflon pans. This is the eco-friendly nonstick future. But what if I told you that every time you bake, you're eating microplastics? Silicone isn't magic. It's a synthetic polymer made from silicon, oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. And when heated above 200 degrees Celsius, 392 degrees Fahrenheit, it begins to degrade. A 2023 study from Nature Food found that silicone baking mats release up to 84,000 microplastic particles per square inch when used at 230 degrees Celsius for 45 minutes. That's not dust. That's plastic breaking down into pieces so small, it slipped through your gut lining and into your bloodstream. And what happens when microplastics enter your body? They trigger chronic inflammation, been found in human placentas. Brains and lungs, they carry toxic additives like phthalates and BPA and D. Here's the lie. Silicone is marketed as inert. But inert at room temperature doesn't mean inert at baking temperature. Even the FDA admits that all food contact materials leach chemicals when heated. So why do we pretend silicone is different? And let's talk about cleaning. You wipe it down. You put it in the dishwasher. But every scratch, every knife mark, every high heat cycle weakens the surface. And once it starts shedding, you can't stop it. So ask yourself, did you switch to silicone to be healthier? Or did you just trade one toxic surface for another? And when did we decide the convenience was worth ingesting plastic with every meal? The phone case your pocket is a chemical incubator asterisk. You carry it everywhere. You sleep with it. You eat with it. Your phone case is like a second skin. But what? If I told you that the soft, rubbery case in your pocket is pumping phthalates into your body 24/7, phthalates, plasticizers, chemicals that make plastics flexible. And they're everywhere in phone cases, especially TPU thermoplastic polyurethane ones. A 2021 study from Environmental Science and Technology. Letters tested 30 popular phone cases. 28 of them released detectable levels of phthalate, especially when exposed to heat. Like in a car or pocket, and phthalates. They're anti-androgens, meaning they block testosterone, linked to low sperm count, birth defects in male fetuses, obesity, and insulin resistance. And here's the nightmare. Phthalates don't stay on the case. They transfer to your skin, then to your hands, then to your food. Right. Your face. Your kids' one study found that people who handle plastic phone cases regularly have 3x higher phthalate levels in their urine. And what about heat? Your phone heats up. Your pocket is warm. Heat accelerates chemical leaching. So every time you're on a call, your cheek is pressed against a slow-drip toxin dispenser. And don't think of silicone. Case saves you. Most are just colored plastic with a silicone feel. So ask yourself, how many hours a day do you touch your phone?
How many?
Those involve direct skin contact? And when did we accept that our most personal device should be slowly poisoning us? The water flosser. Your oral hygiene is a bacteria XPRS SU floss with water because string floss is annoying. It's high-tech, it's clean, it's modern. But what if I told you that the reservoir of your water flosser is a floating petri dish of mold, bacteria, and biofilm? The warm, moist environment inside the water tank is perfect for microbial growth. And most people don't clean it properly. A 2020 study from the Journal of Dental Research found that uncleaned water flossers harbor Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Dominus, coli, and Legionella, bacteria that can cause pneumonia, UTEs, and sepsis. And when you press that button, you're not just cleaning your teeth, you're aerosolizing bacteria straight into your gums and nasal passages. Even worse, tubing is nearly impossible to clean. Biofilm, a slimy layer of bacteria, builds up inside the hose, and once it's there, it's resistant to regular cleaning. Manufacturers recommend replacing the tip every 3 months. But what about the reservoir? The pump? The hose? They don't tell you because they want you to buy a new device. So ask yourself, are you improving your oral health? Or are you just giving bacteria a high-pressure delivery system into your bloodstream? And when did hygiene tools become breeding grounds for disease? The clothing label your style is slowly killing you, but what if the fabric was treated with formaldehyde to keep it crisp? Yes. Formaldehyde, the same chemical used to preserve corpses, is used in clothing to prevent wrinkles and mildew during shipping, and it doesn't wash out. A 2010 FDA investigation found that many imported shirts, pants, and dresses contain formaldehyde levels above safety limits. Symptoms of exposure: skin rashes, respiratory issues, long-term, increased cancer risk. And it's not just formaldehyde. Your clothes are treated with perfluorinated chemicals, PFCs, for water resistance, dyes that release carcinogenic aminous brominated flame retardants in synthetic fabrics, and when you sweat, these chemicals activate, they seep into your skin. So ask yourself, how many of your clothes have wrinkle-free or stain-resistant labels? And when did fashion become a chemical exposure event? The bigger picture: you're not paranoid. You're aware. We live in a world where profit trumps safety, where convenience is sold as progress, where toxicity is invisible, delayed, and denied. You're not overreacting. You're finally seeing the strings. Every object we've talked about, the toaster, the yogurt lid, the car seat, the silicone mat, the phone case, the water flosser, the clothes, they were all designed with one goal: to sell more, to last less, to keep you coming back. Health. It's an afterthought. But here's the good news. Awareness is the first act of resistance. You don't have to live in fear, but you do have to question. You do have to research. You do have to demand better. Because the truth, you are not the customer. You are the product, your attention, your data, your body. So next time you pick up an everyday object, who made this? What's it made of? What happens when it breaks down? And who profits when I stay sick? Stay curious. Stay angry. Stay alive. And if you want more truths they don't want, you too know, hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning.